moving to my next set of questions is that training needs are generally categorized in three categories. One is those which you can anticipate. One that arise out of monitoring via your performance management, via your day-to-day conversations with your managers. Third one are the unexpected problems which comes up your way. So given the complexity of three types that can be ensured, that the identification of training need is integrated across the organization, and how individual functions and departments need to throw their individual limited resources at each problem as it arises, duplicating efforts and dissipating energy.
Okay, so in your learning needs analysis and in building capabilities and competencies in your people, if you keep the focus only on the current performance and performance gaps, then you might run the risk of just being reactive. You will have to start looking at ways and means of building capabilities with a future focus. Simply said, your L&D programs should be investing in capabilities for the future, not just for the present. Now that's strategic. That way you can really not be focusing on building immediate performance requirements that come up, performance gap requirements that come up. When you're building for the future, you in a way preempt some of these urgent, immediately address some of these training needs that we have and so on. So as long as you bring in a balance of future perspective into your LNA, you somewhere hedge yourself from some of these unexpected, immediate, let's solve the crisis right away. There seems to be a capability gap that is widening. Let's solve it immediately. Those kind of requirements. Ask yourself, whose voices go into the process of identifying the learning needs of an individual and the business. So that's very critical to ensure, you have a very solid, seamless, highly integrated, balanced LNA. Your learning needs identification process, along with identifying the current gaps and future needs, it should involve 5 voices. 1, the voice of the employee himself or herself. 2, the voice of the customer or the client. 3, the voice of technology. 4, the voice of the organization. And finally, depending on what kind of organization you belong with, you can add on to the voice of the larger society. So these 5 voices need to be a part of your learning needs identification process. The voice of the employee is where both the employee as well as the manager articulate current performance gaps, possibilities of taking one's performance to the next level, career and growth plans of a particular individual, and thereby his or her learning journey. Now this is a critical element which needs to voice of the employee, which needs to go into your learning needs identification process. The second is the voice of the customer. Now this brings in all the stakeholders who can very well represent what the client expects from you and your business and your employees. It could be your sales and development guys, it could be your delivery managers, it could be your client relationship folks, it could be your portfolio folks, it could be your marketing folks. It could even be folks who are the voice of the internal customer. Now this voice of the customer expectations from your organization, from your business and employees needs to become a part of your learning needs analysis. The third is the voice of the technology. Now the voice of the technology, you can replace the word technology with the voice of your particular business service, a business or service that you are doing. Now this brings in stakeholders who represent what are the services, products, the USP of your particular organization, the competitive advantage of your business, of your product, service, etc. Now what this voice of technology represents actually gives in the entire capability that requires to go into the organization in the form of what is it that one sells or what is it that one offers as one to the business. This is a unique selling proposition of your organization, and your learning needs should be able to capture developing that, investing in it with both the current and the future. The fourth voice is the voice of the organization. Now, going back to the voice of the technology, some of the representatives of your voice of technology would typically be your, if you're a software company, it could be your CTOs, your chief technology officers, your technology architects, your tech principals, your people responsible for coming up with technology solutions, etc. The voice of the organization. Now, this brings in your organizational leaders who represent the who can actually talk to you and share information about the organizational issues at a strategic level, the realities of the organization, its pushes and pulls and the struggles that the organization is going through, the future progress path for the business and the employees. Now, this is just not at a business level, but this is both. It is at the cultural level. It is about saying what is it that we stand as an organization for? What are our cultural parameters? What are our business struggles? What are the capabilities that we need to ensure that all of this is taken care of and we are on the right path? Now, this voice of the organization also needs to be a part of your learning needs. Now, most organizations use only performance reviews and appraisals as the key input for your learning needs. But you need to put in, as learning and development professionals and people who manage this function, you need to have various processes and periodic dialogues and discussions with various stakeholders. Ensure all the voices are continuously gathered, and it should be made a part of your learning and development plan. L&D cannot really afford to operate as a silo, right? It has to facilitate a learning organization, and it is only possible if you're actively and continuously partnering with all of these various stakeholders. You know, processes like performance reviews give their own data. HR business partners, again, another key voice of this organization, and the employee, they do their one-on-ones, they do C interviews, they do skip-level meetings. Does this data flow into your learning needs analysis? Or is this data lying just, you know, for various other processes and does not really flow into your L&E? People managers have career planning conversations with your team members, and I'm sure they do it periodically. Now, does that data flow into your learning needs analysis? As L&D folks, are you a part of business strategy discussions where talks about capability gaps and future requirements, succession planning, etc., are being had as a part of your larger business strategy, not as a separate discussion, but together as a part of your business strategy? Are you guys involved in those discussions? Now, L&D folks, they need to be having scheduled periodic discussions with these various stakeholders in material of, you know, whether it is a learning needs analysis process. But there needs to be a continuous way in which they have a pulse on the capability portfolio of the organization, where it is, where it needs to be, and what needs to be done for the future. You could do one-on-ones, you could do focus group discussions. All of this comprehensive data collection needs to happen continuously and should feed into your L&E. Your learning plan or calendar cannot be static. It has to be dynamic and reviewed periodically and updated through with all of these voices. You know, once in 6 months would be ideal, but I know I'm asking for too much.
Yeah. I mean, it is so comprehensive, and I see that so much of data need to flow in to get your real learning need analysis as per what I understand from you. So I really want to understand, are organizations prepared to, you know, be able to capture data at those levels?